Good morning everyone and welcome to my presentation. My name is B. Mohan Das and the topic of my presentation is data driven based failure prognosis of components having varying degradation. I've done this project under the guidance of Professor Arun Kumar Sabantre and Dr. Om Prakash. I've divided my presentation into 6 sections. They are introduction, literature review, experimental setup, methodology, results, and finally the conclusion. My presentation will take about 20 minutes, so let's start. First, we'll start with the introduction. First, we'll have to know what is prognosis. When a machine is working, it continues to degrade, and prediction of the failure time by using sensors data is called prognosis. If advantages of prognosis, if we can predict the remaining useful life of component, then we can reduce the number of unplanned failures. We can increase the component's lifetime by proper maintenance. We can minimize the inventory cost with adequate planning. Types of prognosis. In general, prognosis approaches can be divided into two types, and they are model-based prognosis and data-driven prognosis. Model-based prognosis. This approach requires a deeper understanding of the physics acting behind the system, including the degradation evolution. Then the laws of physics are used to build a model for the system, which is then used for remaining useful life simulation. But for complex systems, it is difficult to make an exact model. Data-driven prognosis. On the other hand, for data-driven prognosis, one does not need to consider the physics behind the system. We can use the degradation data of previously failed components to train a model, and that will do the predictions for us. Machine learning can be found as one of the most important tool of data-driven prognosis. When a computer program is trained to do a task using past data but not explicitly programmed, it is called machine learning. Basically, machine learning is of two types. First is supervised learning and another is unsupervised learning. In supervised learning, we train the model with both input as well as output data, whereas in unsupervised learning, the output is not provided. Regression and classification are examples of supervised learning, and clustering is an unsupervised learning algorithm. Artificial neural network. In this thesis, artificial neural network is used for predictions. It is a supervised learning model inspired from the structure of biological neurons. The longer and deeper the network gets, it can learn more complex relations. At the same time, it will need even more data for adequate training. Working of artificial neural network. So how does this artificial neural network learn to do the prediction? The answer to that is it implements something called as a backpropagation algorithm that minimizes the output loss by optimizing the parameters with gradient descent optimization. And the process of that is shown in the animation in the below figure. With that, the introduction part is over. Moving on to the literature review. First, we'll see what is varying degradation. In one life cycle, a component may show two or more degradation patterns. So the assumption of monotonic degradation is not always true. The points where this change of trend occurs are called change points. A capacitor's degradation plot is shown here. It is clearly visible that after a certain point, the degradation becomes exponential. Hence, a curve with constant coefficient won't be able to fit this type of degradation. sliding window based targeted parameter estimation. So in order to fit such a curve, we need its parameter to change with time. Here we'll see an approach where a window of width W is selected and a curve is fitted using the points in that window. Further extrapolation of that curve can give the remaining useful life. Just like that, the window keeps on sliding and the parameter of the curve are updated with time. But the problem is, it shows a large deviation at the starting of degradation, which can be misleading for the operator. We'll have a look at the research gap that this thesis tries to address. For components showing varying degradation, we cannot use a curve with constant coefficients. In the previous slide, we saw that an adaptive parameter based method was inaccurate during the initial stages of degradation. To counter this issue, data-driven method is a good way, but most of the available work on this approach focuses more on a certain type of component that cannot be generalized to other. Hence a generalized method was required which can be used for remaining useful life prediction of various components. That concludes the literature review. Let's turn now to the experimental setup section, where the goal was to get the capacitance value and plot the degradation curve of capacitance. Capacitance meter. For this experiment, a simple RC circuit is designed, which was supplied with a square wave. The counter was used to measure the time taken for the capacitor to reach up to 63.2% of the source voltage. That time is the time constant of RC circuit. Now dividing the time constant with the resistance will give us the capacitance value at that particular time instant. Accelerated aging experiment. As the degradation of capacitor is very slow, it was subjected to a temperature greater than its rated temperature to accelerate the degradation. A schematic diagram of experimental setup is shown here, which is done by Dr. Om Prakash. Obtain degradation data. Here the degradation curve for all the 20 capacitor is been plotted. It can be seen that there is a large variation in lifespan among capacitors, and individual capacitors follow multiple degradation patterns with multiple change points in them. That covers everything about experimental setup. Now we'll move on to the next topic, that is methodology. The obtained data has a lot of noise in it, so we cannot use this data to train a model. So we'll try to extract some time domain features from the obtained data by using an expanding window method. This table shows the features with their respective formulas that we have obtained, choosing the target variable. As we are training a supervised learning algorithm, we need to select a target variable, and that is the life ratio. It is the ratio of current age of the component to end of life. Finally, we can easily get remaining useful life value from the life ratio using the second formula shown here. Feature selection. These are the 7 time domain features we have selected. They are root mean square, kurtosis, skewness, variance, peak to RMS mean, absolute deviation. But we cannot use all these features for training due to something called as the curse of dimensionality. We will only select features those have high contribution towards the target estimation. Correlation plot. One way can be the use of a correlation plot. It shows the correlation between one feature with other feature. First, we will select a feature with highest correlation with target variable. That is peak to peak in this case, which is 0.9 correlation. Then we will delete all the features that are already correlated with peak to peak, because they are containing same information in the end. So after deleting all the feature, we are left with two features. They are kurtosis and skewness. Among these two, skewness has higher correlation with the target. So next feature is going to be skewness. Another way of selecting high contributing feature is by using an extremely randomized tree regression. Here also peak to peak value has the highest contribution. As variance is correlated with peak to peak, we have selected the next feature, that is skewness, for training of the neural network. Final features. Finally, we select following 6 features as the input to the artificial neural network. First two are the time in seconds for which the capacitor has been in operation till the tth instant and t minus 1 instant. Same goes for peak to peak value and skewness value. The peak to peak and skewness value of current time instant and t minus time instant are used as an input to the neural network. Artificial neural network training. First, we will need to select the architecture of the neural network. In this case, the neural network has 3 layers with 6 units in the first layer and 3 units in each hidden layers. The activation function used to a rectifier linear unit in the hidden layer and linear at the output. Learning rate was 0.1 and the number of epochs was 5000. Next, these are the 6 input features these are the 6 input features and the output is the live ratio which were used for the neural network training. Training and test fleet. Total 60% of the obtained data was used for the training of the neural network and the rest 40% were used to check the accuracy of the model. Methodology section is also over now. Now we'll see the results we get by implementing this method. Once the training of neural network was completed, it was used for remaining useful life predictions of the capacitor from the test data. The prediction curve follows the actual curve almost accurately. We got a training error of 0.59% and a test error of 0.55%, which shows that this neural network is appropriately fitting the data. Obtaining the prediction interval. The output of the neural network is a point estimate, but to make good decisions, the operator should be aware of the uncertainties related to it. For that, predictions interval are also estimated. To estimate the prediction interval, we have decomposed the actual live ratio value into two parts, that is LR cap and epsilon. Where LR cap is the output of the neural network and the epsilon is the error associated with it. When we plot the error value for all the test set data, we see this type of distribution. It follows a normal distribution with mean 0 and standard deviation with some sigma. If we obtain the estimation of the above equation, we can find it is LR cap, as the estimation of epsilon will be 0 due to its mean to be at 0. If we obtain the variance of LR, then it will be sigma square, which is the variance of the error, because LR cap is a point estimate. Finally, we can say that live ratio, actual live ratio can be written as a normal distribution with mean LR cap and variance sigma square. To get a 95% prediction interval, we can obtain this equation, which is LR upper equal to LR cap plus 2 sigma, LR lower equal to LR cap minus 2 sigma. Finally, RUL is obtained from the live ratio value by implementing the expression shown in the previous slide. In this plot, we can barely see any interval, but once we zoom into it, the interval with its upper and lower bounds are clearly visible, which will assist the operator for decision making. Comparison with other models. A comparison is also shown here with other popular machine learning models such as linear regression, decision trees, and support vector machines. For all models are trained with same features. It can be seen that the output of the neural network follows the actual curve very well. but other models tend to deviate at one time or another. This plot shows the mean squared error comparison for each model. You can see that linear regression has the highest error, whereas artificial neural network has the lowest. It is not exactly 0, but it is of the order of 10 to the power minus 7. With that, now the results section is also over. Finally, we'll see the conclusion. The proposed approach offers accurate remaining useful life prediction for components with varying degradation and having multiple change points during the life cycle. In this thesis, an artificial neural network model was trained with selected time domain features. Prediction interval was also estimated to counter the model's uncertainty. Finally, artificial neural network models output was compared with other popular model methods, where the performance of artificial neural network was much better. One disadvantage of this method is it will need a large amount of data to make accurate predictions. Scope of future work. Selection of the architecture for the neural network can be automated using a grid search algorithm. To predict remaining useful life of components present in a hybrid dynamical system, their operating modes can also be treated as an input to the neural network. With that, the conclusion is also over. These are the references I have used to make this presentation. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your kind attention.